tonight I have yet another Meerschaum pipe by CPW, or Calabash Pipes World. They have an Etsy site, like a eBay site. They got like an Instagram presence so far that I know of. It appears to be block Meerschaum. If I actually do the little like wet your finger test and touch the inside of the bowl, it just sticks to it, kind of absorbs the water almost as it pulls my finger or the skin of my finger closer toward it, kind of the same way my other seemingly block Meerschaums, or at least all four of the other ones, seem to do the same thing to some degree, more or less, depending on, I guess, how raw the Meerschaum is or how little oil is in between my finger and the actual Meerschaum stone. I guess you're not really supposed to call it a stone, not really sure. But of course this one comes with a sterling silver actual spigot mount. So as you can see, it's actual silver touching silver here. So the silver here is touching that silver here. And of course, since this top portion of the mouthpiece is tapered, it's basically the, what do you call it, the friction between the mortise and the tenon. It's keeping it together. And the interesting is that you can see this little piece of wood right here. I'm pretty certain that thing goes into the mortise to some degree from what I can see looking in this hole. And of course the wood is actually attached, or this silver is attached to the wood itself. So it seems that if I were to turn this too hard, like the worst, I guess the breaking point would be like this portion of the stumel. The shank of the stumel would probably break apart. That's where I guess would be the weakest, the actual point of failure. So when I put this thing together, I'm usually holding it by the actual silver spigot if possible. I think that might be one of the reasons why they tried to raise this actual wooden piece out a little bit, so maybe you actually touch with your hand there. So that way if I'm putting it on and off, taking it on and off by touching the wooden part, the, I guess, what you would call like the weakest, or the point of breaking, would probably be something inside of here rather than the actual Meerschaum itself. I find that kind of interesting. I've seen other designs for Meerschaum pipes with like spigots, or even what you call actual briar mortise and tenon attachments. And what I look, when I see those, I think, well, most people are probably going to hold the stumel by the bowl, and then they're going to take the mortise and tenon and just like stick it on like this. And that makes me think that as you're twisting it this way, even with this pipe, if I was twisting really hard here, it would put pressure right here on the shank of the mortise, or the shank of the stumel. So I don't know, I think that's kind of maybe, I don't know if people think about that much. I'm guessing they are obviously thinking about that with the design, but it just makes me wonder if anyone buying pipes would think about that very much. Not really sure. Or they would just look at it and say, hey, it's not a Delrin tenon mortise screw-in fitting like you see most of these, I guess, slightly cheaper, or I guess just the majority of Meerschaums out there, which I think work fine. It seems like the ones that I have, they work amazingly. And there's something about those really tiny Delrin screw-in mortise and tenon fittings that there's something about how it's so flimsy there at the midpoint that I know that if someone were to ever come and just like snap my pipe or something like that, it would just bend that little tenon fitting, the mortise and tenon like plastic, kind of cheap little fitting part. It would just bend it off and break off, and then I could just replace it. So it seems kind of almost like nice to have a breaking point in there on purpose, like a breakaway zone, which is kind of an interesting thought to me. But of course, this was only $135, so it was $135 with shipping. I think with tax it might have been like $140 or something like that. I don't really remember, or maybe it was $135 for everything. But it's under like $160. It's under $150, and you get all these, I guess, all of this, like the spigot stuff, the kind of interesting little additional accoutrements, as you'd say, and you still get a Meerschaum pipe, which is interesting. It seems to be real Meerschaum from what I can tell. And my guess is, instead of dipping this in actual like yellow beeswax, since it comes so white, and I could tell that it was dipped in something because the inside of the bowl I could see was a little bit more, I don't know what you call it, it's like a little bit, it's not as shiny, the outside's a little more shiny, you can kind of see something dripping into there a little bit. So I'm guessing what they did is they took a paraffin wax or a white, what do you call, like a bleached clear beeswax, and put it on the outside, and it hasn't really colored much. So maybe the no coloration might be a bit of a sign that it's not an actual Meerschaum, as people say. It might be pressed Meerschaum if it's not really doing much coloration at all. But it's interesting. I think the other, at least like the other smooth pipes I've seen so far, a lot of them don't color all that much at first, it seems like. It's not like a lattice pipe, or it's not like I've taken off the the wax from it completely to let it color a different way or something like that. And as you can tell, I'm just touching it with my hands. I'm just treating it kind of like any other pipe. As Bremen pipe smoker would say, it's probably the best way to kill your enjoyment. Pipe smoking is to take care of your pipes a little too much, be a little too finicky about that. So that's what I'm trying to do with this pipe, at least. In the future, I might get a nice, like, interesting lattice work pipe, or a pipe with like very interesting carving or something. But I mean, so far I already have these. I have 3 other like old estate pipes working right now that actually, I guess they're already colored. So I don't know. Maybe it's nice to have my own, add my own coloration to a pipe, but it's like, why would I don't know. I just don't feel like I want to do the thing where I'm holding it with a glove, holding only this portion of the pipe, the stem only, to color it a perfect way using a coloring bowl. It doesn't really seem like that stuff's that fun to me, or doesn't look interesting to me, at least. Of course, in here I got some Bosun cut plug. I think they call it cut plug. Galwith Hogarth Company blend. It's got that, I don't know, I like Lakeland so far. But I only tried a couple Lakelands, I guess. I've tried Ennerdale, loved Ennerdale, amazing, just wonderful blend. I could smoke that every day, I feel like. And this Bosun cut plug, or Bosun, B-O-S-U-N. It's really great. My little local brick and mortar here, since Washington State, the state that I live in, you can't have tobacco shipped to you at all. It's illegal. So you can't buy any tobacco. I can't go on Smoking Pipes and buy tobacco, which just sucks. But of course I can go to Spokane's Tobacco World, which is just an amazing place because they actually offer things. And the guy there, Doug, who he's like a Galwith fan apparently, and he tries to get Galwith blends in all the time, which is just really great. And I feel kind of stupid. I would always see the Bosun there, and I feel like I remember just really early on, I knew that was a Galwith blend. I was like looking through Galwith's catalog. I don't know why I never tried it. I think I just didn't. I don't know. Maybe I just looking at other blends or something. And I don't know. I just love it so far. It's like got a little bit of clove to it apparently, and I don't know. I like it. It's not like it's tasting like an Indian restaurant, It's just very slight. And it's just interesting. People say it tastes like soap. People say Lakelands are soapy, and they say it's gross because it's soapy. I don't know exactly what they mean by soapy. Probably have to look in that more. I think they mean soapy as in it tastes like when you go to a hotel and you go and see the hotel bar soap, and it has that scent to it. That's almost like floral, kind of some kind of like wanting to be luxurious kind of scent to it. But I find this is just very different to me, at least. Just seems very interesting, very like almost like a natural kind of floral flavor from what I can get. Like kind of like an herbal flavor. Interesting stuff to me, at least. And of course, I'll end this video with an interesting story. So the previous video that I posted before this was a video of a ram-shaped Meerschaum pipe that I got in the mail. And it had like a little ram's head on it, had kind of an interesting kind of pointy shape to it. And of course, I tried putting a different mortise and tenon. I thought they're the same size, thought the tenons were the same size. Tried putting a different mouthpiece on it because I had this other replacement mouthpiece just laying around. I was going to kind of shape it and form it into what I want. I put it in there immediately. The stummel, or the shank portion of the stummel, broke apart. Glued it together again, broke apart. Glued it together with an epoxy around the entire thing. Stayed together. I went outside to smoke it, and of course when I took the video to smoke it, toward the end, like after I'd taken the video and done the video and I was just sitting there smoking it, I heard a really loud pop. There was just this popping sound right by my face, like a snap. I didn't know what it was. I kind of looked at it, didn't know what it was, and I just kept smoking it, and then half of the bowl just slid right off. So apparently the bowl itself had just cracked in half. I'm looking at it, it just had like a complete diagonal cleavage. I should have probably brought the piece down here. Maybe I'll post it later in like a short or something. Of course, I posted it to my Instagram, little Instagram page they have going on. But I don't know. My guess is there's something wrong with the actual Meerschaum material, or maybe someone had soaked it in water or something. Something had caused it to break, and I'm guessing that's probably what caused the shank also to break earlier before that. From what I can tell, if I'm looking at the material of the Meerschaum, there's a couple almost like what looks like a channel of impurity, like a little channel of some other like color, like a grayish color that starts from one part and ends on another one, in another area. I'm guessing that might have had something to do with it. Like the Meerschaum itself probably had some kind of impurity or was, you know, unusually fragile. That's my guess. I'm pushing a little over 10 minutes. I guess I'm gonna keep smoking this. Oddly enough, Meerschaums have kind of become my daily smokers. Every day I have one Meerschaum, one Briar almost, something like that. If I do 2 bowls, I'm usually doing 2, 3, maybe even 4 bowls a day sometimes these days. And sometimes I'll just do a day where I don't smoke anything at all, or 2 or something like that. But I don't know, I feel kind of bad for my Briars, but these Meerschaums, oddly good smokers. I don't think it's true that they're magical and they like take away all the tar and all the nicotine, something like that. But I love that you don't need a cake for it at all. You can just get rid of the cake every single time, which is interesting, you know, and they're not that expensive. It's $135 for all these accoutrements. All this stuff for $135. And you know, CPW isn't a big brand. It's not Altanai, it's not AKB, or it's not all these kind of bigger brand names, Paycock. You know, nobody knows CPW from what I can tell online. Maybe a lot of people do, I don't know. And I don't know, I think it's a great pipe. If I buy a pipe, I'd probably go with them again in the future. Someday I want to have like a really short, I don't have any straight mirrors actually. I'd probably do like a straight mirror. Maybe another Spigot. They got quite a few available. All right, have a good one, y'all.